Okay. Hi, Michelle. I'm here with Michelle Daniel from the Heart of English, who's an English coach. And I've connected with Michelle because we have some common interests. We are both language learners or have been language learners, and we both believe in the power of conversation sessions for developing and improving fluency.
That's
Michelle.
right. Um, so I'll tell you a little bit about me, Lisa. So I'm a native speaker of English. I live in Montreal, Canada, and I started learning French at school at age 5. But when I moved to Montreal in my 20s, I was still at the low intermediate level. So it took me years of practice and study to get up to the advanced level in French. So I have experience also as a language learner. In my case, I learned French. How about you?
Yes, well, I also learned French actually, but I learned it as a foreign language in the UK, and I think I was probably about 11 years old when I started, and I loved it, despite the method of learning. I really loved learning languages, so I decided to study it at university, and it was a very different experience from learning Spanish because I live in Spain. I've spent the last 20 odd years living in Spain. And it's been a very different language learning experience because I went through the traditional system to learn French in the UK, textbooks, classrooms, and I'm pretty much the same at university, if I'm honest.
Mhm, mhm.
But when I came to live in Spain, I didn't speak any Spanish, so I just had to get right in there, and I was speaking from day one because I had no choice.
Yeah.
So it was a very immersive environment, and a very different experience. Yeah,
Yeah, but you did it, right? That's the
I
important
did
thing. You
it. I
plunged
did
in
it.
and you learned.
Yeah. And I realized the benefit of being in an immersive situation. But
Mhm.
obviously, this is not possible for a lot of our students. So, we have to try and recreate that immersive situation, which is what we're going to talk a little bit about today.
Yes.
So yeah, because I'd just like to say that you had I realized the benefit of and the power of conversation sessions for my students here in Spain because they didn't have that immersive environment that I had for learning
Mhm.
Spanish. And I remembered my experience learning French. And I didn't attend any conversation sessions really when I learned French. There wasn't much opportunity in the classroom at secondary school to speak. It was a lot of textbook studying, grammar activities, learning
Mhm.
vocabulary, but not
Mhm.
much opportunity to speak. And I really believe that this is one of the ways that we can empower our learners and give them the confidence that they need. So I did have a free conversation group called the Culture Cafe last year, which
Mhm.
has now become part of my new 12-week program, which starts in February. And I've kept the conversation element because I think it's so important.
Mhm.
And I know that you have a free conversation club. So
Yes.
could you tell us a little bit about that and why you started it?
Yeah, sure. So I started my conversation club because, first of all, I offer private English coaching. And in my one to one sessions, that is private sessions, I focus on conversational English, but I have structured discussions with people on specific topics. So one week I will choose the topic of plastic garbage in the ocean, and the next week we will talk about creativity, and then the next week we'll talk about attentive listening and different topics, some of which are related to language, but some others that are just about general interest, whether it's the environment or it could be about business, it could be about science. I've had many topics about the pandemic, for example. So I love having stimulating conversations. And then I teach based on the students speaking. So they speak, I listen, I take notes, and then I teach based on, what they said. So that program is called Speak with Confidence, and I can tell you, or I can provide a link to it later.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
And then having a conversation club just really seemed like the obvious next step for me in the evolution of my business. That I have private coaching that is focused on these stimulating discussions. And so I wanted to do something in a group with the same concept, basically apply the same concept to a group setting.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I find that sometimes some of my students have been reluctant to join a group setting. And I've really had to convince them that
Yes.
we'll enjoy it. And
Yes.
they do. They absolutely love it once they get in there. But there's sometimes a reluctance in the initial stages to try it. It's almost like we're comfortable with the one-to-one, but then joining the group session seems to be a very big step for some students. Would you agree?
Yes, I've had the same experience. I mean, I would say that people at the upper intermediate or advanced level are more inclined to participate in a group than people at lower levels. One of the concerns that participants, like people sign up for my club, but then they email me and they say that they're worried that their level is too low and they are not sure whether they'll be able to participate, for example. And then even at the upper levels, I have people who are very shy to speak because they don't have a lot of practice speaking. Actually, they mainly listen, they watch TV shows, they watch movies in English, but they don't practice speaking very often.
And this is one of the main benefits, isn't it? That when we're not in an immersive situation, that we can recreate that by having these conversation groups, and giving people as much opportunity as possible to be able to speak.
Yes.
So I do encourage even lower levels, the if the environment is friendly and relaxed and stress free, exactly, then there really is no problem. And for me, the one thing that you can do is just to get in there and get started and take action, because once you're there, it's like anything. When you think about doing something, it seems worse. But when you actually start doing it, then you realize that it's not as bad as you thought, or as scary as you thought.
Yes. And I'd like to add that everybody feels shy at first. I feel shy leading the group too. Okay. So everyone feels shy at first. I have learned a lot over the past 6 months on how to lead the lesson or lead the conversation club meeting and relax, have fun, and enjoy, and not focus so much on, speaking perfectly or something like that. And I think it's the same for the learners, is to focus on enjoyment, to focus on communicating, and not worry about making errors, because it's human. It's only human to make errors, and nobody's perfect. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that each person is thinking about themselves, right? So they're not judging others. That's the other thing, is that often when we're shy, we fear that others will judge us, but actually everybody is so focused on themselves that they're not judging others.
Yeah, that's true. I'd like to, I totally agree with what you said there about, we really do learn by doing. And then you have to, I know it's difficult to get out of our comfort zone, like you say, not just for the students, but for us as well as coaches or
Yes.
teachers or whatever. Everybody, when we do something which is new or is challenging, then it's difficult to put ourselves in that position. But we really do need to do it to make progress. And another thing that I like what you said is about not being afraid of making mistakes. This is one thing that I really stress with my students, with my participants. participants in the conversation club that, you know, we're not there to judge, we're not there to speak perfectly, we're there to it's an opportunity to practice, is an opportunity to rehearse for real life, and it's a safe environment, it's a friendly environment. You can make all the mistakes you like, because that's how we learn. We have to make mistakes to learn. And nobody is going to judge them, because we're all in the same boat. You know, we even make mistakes in our own, in our mother tongue when we're speaking, in spontaneous speech. You know, it's normal, it's part of speech. And so, you know, the most important thing is that, you know, we just speak, and we just give it a go, and don't worry about making those mistakes, because and the good thing is, in a group situation, we learn from other people's mistakes. We learn from our own mistakes and other people's mistakes. And interesting things come up in conversation. And obviously, like you said, we're not in the conversation group, we're not constantly correcting people. You know?
No, actually, I don't provide correction in the conversation club. I don't provide correction because I don't want people to feel that they've been put on the spot. So I only give feedback if a participant specifically asks me how to pronounce a word, asks me what the meaning of a word is or a phrase. They ask me for the meaning, then I will give it. But I don't just listen and then provide correction. I do that in my private coaching, but I don't do that in the group setting. I'm very conscious of making people feel at ease, because I really believe that their fluency will improve when they feel calmer, more relaxed, and they enjoy themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so important that they feel comfortable and in a safe environment. I totally agree. And I find that I mean, I do the same. I don't usually correct on the spot because it interrupts the flow of conversation. But quite often what we have at the end of the session is kind of a little mini debriefing, and you know, I've noted maybe interesting vocabulary, not just mistakes. Interesting vocabulary that people use that other people might like to note down because they didn't have time in the course of conversation, and you know, just interesting points that come up, and we sometimes just have a little 5-10 minute chat about that and take their notes, and we all go away happy and pleased with our progress.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, I think the idea is to improve a little bit each time.
Exactly. Just taking those baby steps towards better fluency, and you know, creating realistic goals, and I also think it's important, consistency. So you know, if you go to one conversation session once a year, that's not really going to help you.
No.
You know? If you commit to going to one conversation once a month or once every 2 weeks, or however frequent the conversation session that you join is, at least there's some kind of consistency, and you know what you're working towards. I mean, I don't know. Do you provide speaking prompts for your students so that they can prepare beforehand?
Yeah, I'll tell you how I prepare. So I choose a theme each month. For example, this month's theme is minimalism and simple living. So I did some decluttering over the holidays, and it felt really good. And I was thinking also about how the pandemic has affected me, and I imagine many, many other people, which is that I've simplified my life. So that's how I chose the topic for this month. So now that I've chosen the topic, I will choose 4 videos for participants to watch, and they'll be on this topic, on different aspects of the topic of minimalism and simple living. And then I give some questions to think about. So they can start thinking about it before the session. And then in the session, I have a presentation, and I have opportunities for them to write for 2 minutes, just to write a couple of notes. And then I break them up into breakout rooms, which means small groups on Zoom. And then they talk about a specific topic within the big topic, a specific aspect of it in little groups, in small groups.
Brilliant. Yeah, that sounds really good. I do the same, actually. I provide prompts, but I have to say I didn't in the beginning, and I just put the topic. I just put the topic
Mhm.
and come along. We're going to talk about this. And obviously, I didn't realize that actually was really scary for some people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh. So I gave a feedback form at the end. What did you like about it? What do you think could improve? And it was actually one of the students who'd attended a session said it'd be really nice if we could receive the discussion questions beforehand, so that those of us who want to prepare can prepare ourselves. So
Mhm.
it's less scary, and you're not
Yeah.
on the spot so much. So that was really, really good feedback from my students, and from then on I've also provided the prompts beforehand. Obviously, we're all different. Some people prepare them, some people don't prepare them. They just turn up and
Mhm.
speak, and that's
Mhm.
absolutely fine.
Exactly.
We're,
It's the
we're all
same thing
different.
with me. Yeah, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with my participants. Some of them prepare and some don't. So it really depends on many factors, how you learn, how much you like to prepare for things, and also how much time you have, how much of a priority it is for the person to work on their English. So there are
Mm-hmm.
many different factors.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I say
Mm-hmm.
come one, come all, and just participate as you like.
Yeah, yeah. No, 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 definitely. And I think, what we not just practicing our speaking skills, we're also practicing our listening skills. And I think an important thing, I don't know about in your sessions, but in my sessions, people come from all over the world. So, and I mean, it was called the Culture Cafe for this reason.
Yeah.
And it was that now we live in such a globally connected world, and a lot of my students need to speak with people from other countries. And sometimes it's accents are very different, and somebody speaking English from India sounds very different to somebody speaking English from Spain, for example. And it's really good to hear different kinds of accents and to get used to listening to different kinds of accents, because I think we're only going to become more and more connected with technology.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I also have people from all over the world, but I would say that more than half of them live in Canada. But because Canada, like the UK, is a country where there's a lot of immigration, I mean, in one conversation club, in terms of the country of origin, it's like almost everybody comes from a different country. But I do have some people who are actually in different countries too, like
Right.
Peru, France, Iran.
Yeah.
I've had
Yeah.
participants from different countries, but within Canada, I mean, there are people who join from all kinds of different backgrounds.
Yeah, yeah. And this is another nice thing about the sessions. We're not just practicing our language skills. We're also learning about different ways of seeing things, different ways of thinking,
Mhm.
different ways
Oh,
of
yeah.
feeling. Where we're exploring new cultures, and I just find that fascinating.
Me too. And that's something I get out of the conversation club that I
Yeah.
find is a benefit for me is that I get to learn about different cultures. And I mean, people come and they tell me that they're from Senegal and they speak this language and French and they're learning English. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's fantastic, isn't it? I've learned so many things about so many places that just from the conversation sessions. So yeah, we also benefit from our sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's like for me, one of the other benefits is this idea of a community.
Mhm.
People sharing, people supporting each other, people encouraging each other. And I just think it's a really nice atmosphere to be able to practice your language skills in. So
Yes,
I'm sure it's
absolutely.
the same in your club too.
Yes. So I say that one of the benefits is that you get to socialize and have fun with other people who are learning English like you.
Exactly. Have fun. Have fun. I think
Mhm.
that's a good point, that we really do learn when we're having fun. And I don't just mean fun like playing silly games or things like that. I mean really actually enjoying the activities. When we
Mhm.
enjoy the activity, we're having fun, and we're learning without being conscious of learning almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
Often people are focused in my conversation club, they're focused on communicating, expressing their opinions, and
Mhm.
disagreeing or agreeing with others. And they're so focused on that that they forget that they're practicing their English. And that's a good
Yeah.
thing because
Yeah.
they're really focused on communicating with other human beings, not
Ah,
just their grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, etc.
yeah, that's a really interesting point because that is another thing that we really practice is the strategies for communication. Because is one thing learning a monologue in your head and then regurgitating it, but it's another thing actually having a real life conversation. Maybe the listener isn't going to understand you, and you need to adapt your language to make sure that they do understand you.
Exactly.
We need to clarify, we need to ask for repetition, we need to use all these strategies for communication that, if we're learning alone, we don't have the opportunity to practice those, to rehearse those for a real life situation. So I think it's a really important point to make that is a big benefit of these kind of sessions.
Yes, I agree.
Michelle, is there anything else that you can think of that we need to tell people about?
Well, I
Like
wanted
why
to
they're so.
say, yeah, I would like to say that just try it. You have nothing to lose. In the case of my conversation club, it's free. So why not try it? If you understood most of this interview, not everything, but most of what Lisa and I have said in this interview, then your listening skills are good enough for the conversation club. And in the actual conversation club, I try to use simpler language and I speak a little bit more slowly, like I'm speaking now. So even if you didn't understand everything in this interview, don't worry. It will be a little bit slower in the actual club because Lisa and I are native speakers of English. And so I think it's important that we're not what's called grading our language, which means that we're not slowing down the pace of our speech. We're not simplifying our vocabulary to talk to each other. But in the club, and I'm sure it's the same for Lisa, we do speak a little bit more slowly and simplify our language a little to make it more accessible to the participants. So just try it.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
nothing to
No,
lose.
we got a bit excited tonight, didn't we, as well? So we were speaking
Yeah,
faster
but
than
yeah,
than
and
we
I
would
think it's
begin.
normal. I think it's normal
Yeah,
because, like I said, we're both native speakers of English,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And also, I think it's interesting that even Lisa and I come from different cultures. We are talking about different cultures. Like my parents come from Sri Lanka and they immigrated to Canada. I was born here. And Lisa is from the UK and she immigrated to Spain.
Mhm.
So we also come from different cultures.
Yeah, yeah. No, no,
That's
no.
part of
It's
our interest, I think, in connecting
yes,
with people from different
absolutely.
cultures.
Yeah, I think that's part of the interest why we connected also because we had all these things in common that we wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Um, okay, well, I would encourage anybody who's thinking or who has been thinking that they want to really prioritize English, want to improve their fluency, to join one of your sessions and have a go. Like you said, it's free, that you have nothing to lose. And if anybody is looking for anything, any more information on fluency and improving their fluency, I also have a free webinar this Thursday, which is free also. Anybody is welcome to come. I'm going to be talking about the fluency puzzle and what we need to help us improve our fluency, which is not just vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's more
so
to it than that.
so yeah, I'll be talking about some of the things we've discussed today and a few more things as well. So Michelle, if people want to contact you, I mean, obviously I'm going to put this in the links below. I'm going to post this
Yes.
on Instagram and Facebook and put it in the links below. But could you just tell us again the name of your business?
Yeah. So it's called The Heart of English. And you can find me on Instagram at theheartofelenglish.ca. And on my Instagram profile, you'll see the link for the conversation club. So you can sign up there.
Okay.
And I'll send Lisa the link as well so that she can include the link to the
I will
conversation
include
club.
that. I will include that on the in the bits below. That will be somewhere
Sounds
below
good.
or above or wherever. Okay, that's great. And yeah, like I said, if anybody wants to join my free webinar on Thursday, I'm your English self on Instagram. Oh, losing my voice now. On Instagram and Facebook. And that must be a sign it's time to stop talking. And nothing. Thank you very much, Michelle, for coming along. I've really enjoyed it, and I really hope this will encourage some of the students who are maybe a bit, oh, do I, don't I, to just have a go, try it, and I'm sure they'll absolutely love it.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed our discussion.
Okay, well, see you soon. Bye bye from
Bye-bye.
Spain.